right now. Adam Schefter reported that Brian Flores said, God has gifted me with a special talent to coach the game of football, but the need for change is bigger than my personal goals. In making the decision to file a class action complaint today, I understand that I may be risking coaching the game again that I love and that has done so much for my family and I. My sincere hope is that by standing up against systemic racism in the NFL, others will join me to ensure that positive change is made for generations to come. So he is claiming that there is systemic racism in the NFL. And, you know, it's definitely, I wouldn't say implicitly, but like Brian Flores, we said it on the first podcast when we found out he got fired. That's probably the dumbest termination of all the terminations. Yep. I mean, you talk about Sean Payton, but he walked away. That was his decision. Yep. Brian Flores was legitimately let go. And then the owner basically said, well, I mean, this was kind of supposed to be one of those bridge things. We thought we legitimately could have, you know, made it to the next level and we didn't get to the playoffs. I'm like, your roster is butt. To me, I just saw no chance for Brian Flores.
To me, he overachieved. He overachieved, if anything.
I kept picking him 2 years in a row to be coach of the year because I legitimately think what he does with this roster on paper is impressive.
Right.
And you can't go out, win 8 in a row pretty much on the way out and be like, all right, peace out. Like that, that was super questionable. But allegedly, you know, ownership, GM say like, we did expect more. We didn't expect to start out 0-6 or whatever. And
well, see, but what Flores is saying is completely contradicting what that is. He's saying like he was encouraged to lose, like he was offered money for every loss a couple 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Like it's crazy what he's you know throwing out there. So my thoughts on that, I don't think he's necessarily spewing garbage. I don't think he's an idiot. I think he knows what he's doing. I think he feels wronged.
Probably. He should. And I'm not saying that the wronging was, I don't know if it was racism implicitly. I just think it was, right. I just think it's a boneheaded franchise. Like, right. I don't think they realized what they had.
Yeah, I don't think it makes any sense. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, my thought process though, and I was thinking about this before, he's got to have something on all these teams, like more than even what we're seeing now, mm-hmm. or just bad lawyers. to throw this out there, because you're not going to just go after 3 or 4 or whatever 4 NFL franchises.
Well, technically, he's suing the NFL and the Miami Dolphins and other teams.
So you can't really go after NFL franchises in the NFL itself mm-hmm. without having feeling pretty good about your chances, right? Or otherwise they're just going to bankrupt.
Or just making a quick settlement, I guess. I don't know. It's probably just.
Sure, but I don't think that doesn't seem like that's. I mean, the guy's been paid enough. Like that doesn't seem like that's what his motivation is here. You know, he's a football coach through and through. Mm-hmm. From what everything I've heard about him, so
everything I've seen from him, he's a good coach. So
and he's risking, like you said, he is risking a chance to coach at least in the NFL ever again. Mm-hmm. I have always been of the opinion, and we talked about this earlier this year when we talked about the John Gruden stuff. A lot of stuff in the NFL does need to change. Like it's a lot of stuff we don't hear about. It's obvious we don't hear about a lot of this stuff that comes up, and a lot of this stuff needs to change. And I don't think the NFL does a good job of trying to bring about that change. Like the Rooney Rule stuff doesn't bring about the change.
And then bribing with 3rd round draft picks, essentially.
Right. That doesn't bring about change. That's just something to make.
Putting a price tag on a minority, that's actually slavery.
It works, in my opinion. Like, the change needs to be in how just attitudes towards people. Like that's what needs to happen, and
that could change in society in general. I mean, that's people are just crappy to each other this day and age. But like my thoughts more so lie on, you know, the other argument is, you know, I have my issues with the Rooney Rule because of what you just said. I think it's putting a price tag on a minority, which is a horrible thing to do. But the other thing is, 27% of the NFL is white. Well, players. So, I mean, you're looking at what, 73%? 73% are African-Americans or minorities that are in the NFL, that are NFL players. But people are like, well, if you have a league that's 73%, you know, minorities or African-Americans or whatever, like then why do you only have like 1 or 2 black coaches right now? And then, my answer, the answer isn't necessarily racist. It's what you want in a coach isn't necessarily what do you want from a player. Sometimes it's just sometimes the level. I mean, not saying players, white or black, can't be level-headed and stuff, but like sometimes you just want a guy that's a good organizer. And a lot of players are so specific because they've been training their entire life for something. I don't know.
Well, I think it's more of I think I see what you're saying, but like I think it's more of like if the NFL wanted to make a change, they could devote resources to making sure there are more black coaches in general, right? Not necessarily head coaches, just black coaches in general.
I think there's
getting them brought up in football, right? Giving them more opportunities to advance in the coaching ranks, right? Up from college, high school, all the way up through it, right? That's how you get more. That's how you change it, right? They aren't making rules isn't going to change. Making the Rooney rules and adding incentives for hiring black coaches and things like that isn't gonna change it, right? Because in the end, in my opinion, and I think any coach, regardless of race, color, anything, would say, look, they want the best guy to get the job, right? They want the guy with the most experience or who was best fit for the job to get the job, right? But they also want to be given a fair shake. That's all it is, right?
Yeah.
So if they're given a fair shake, that's all they're asking for. And
well, it's the same with affirmative action. I mean,
give everybody a fair shake.
You want everyone to get that fair chance at getting the job, but at the end of the day, getting that job should be based on qualifications, experience, etc.
Correct. So, and I think the Brian Flores case is
he did a good job.
Where was he disqualified from? You know what I mean? Like that's probably why he's frustrated. Like where was he shown? Where did he prove that he wasn't good enough for the job? Right. Mm-hmm. And there can be arguments all the time about, poor hirings or firings and all those type of things too. Like guys getting fired too soon. There's evidence of all those type of things every year. Somebody gets fired before they should have been, that type of stuff.
Oh, was it Steve Wilkes for the Cardinals had 1 year with him?
Yeah. Like things like that, there's evidence of that all the time. Right. Mm-hmm. Regardless of race or anything like that. However, I think, along with all the other stuff that happens in the NFL with lack of minority head coaches and things like that. Yeah, it's something to look at. And I think Brian Flores, I think all he's trying to do here is just bring it to light. And there's probably things we've never heard about that probably will come to light. And a lot of people will probably look bad. People that we probably didn't even think about are probably going to look bad in this situation. And hey, I mean, if it brings about change, that's good. Like we said with the Gruden stuff, if it brings about good, positive change in the NFL, then this is fine. I guess, I don't know. It's just he's gonna struggle to probably prove the racism part. But I think if he just brings some of the issues to light, I think he'll probably have done what he wants to do. It's really interesting.
I don't know. I mean, if I can't think of a coach in the last 10 plus years that deserved that job or did the most with the least than Brian Flores. I mean, you can make the argument Dan Campbell did a ton with the lowest amount of talent this year with how he kept every game close. There's at least that.
But the Dolphins roster is a bottom 7 or 8 roster still.
I would say so. Yeah.
He still had them on the brink of the playoffs twice.
Yeah, I mean, almost everybody probably looks at paper and they're like, yeah, they probably should have started 0-6 and then somehow finished winning out. Like, that's crazy.
Right.
So
it's I don't know
how do you not walk and then like obviously interviewed with the Giants and the Texans at some point. How does that resume not look good enough to be like, all right, I'm hiring this guy?
And if you're the Giants and you can point to, look, we wanted an offensive guy, we really wanted Brian Dable. Fine, fair enough. Whatever. But to me, it just seems like some of these decisions are kind of predetermined, right? And that's fine. Like, that's in their right to predetermine who they want, right? That's completely fine. That's how this works a lot of times, right? They know who they want. But again, like to my point earlier, like you got to give that guy like that a fair shake. And in my opinion, he probably didn't get a fair shake. Obviously, he didn't get a fair shake in Miami, even after he got that job. And, it sounds like I think that was the whole point of the Belichick, messages that came up. It's not necessarily maybe poking a little bit of fun at Belichick for being stupid and not realizing who he was texting. But it's more of just bringing to light, like, they had already made their decision and I was interviewing the next day. Like, and Belichick, obviously he's plugged in, so he knew that they had already made the decision on Brian Dable. Like, and that's fine. If that was their guy the whole way, that's fine. But, like, again, just make sure these guys get a fair shake already. And that's make sure everybody gets a fair shake, regardless. Doesn't matter. You should see qualifications and ability to coach football and run a team over anything else. And I think that's, he's even, like, throwing John Elway under the bus. I don't know if you read all that too. Like, Elway showed up, like, hungover to the interview. Like, you never know. Like, all
I
this
didn't
stuff.
read as much into that as I really wanted to. I did have a pretty busy day today when all this stuff was coming out. But
because we even said, we thought when Flores got fired, we're like, oh, he's going to land on his feet. It'll be quick. Somebody.
Yeah. I thought for sure he'd have a head coach job this year. And the Texans interviewed him and still haven't hired anybody, and they're a dumpster fire of an organization.
Dude, he would be perfect.
If Flores wanted, the problem is getting someone to want that job. But if Flores actually was willing to go to that interview and wanted that job, you damn well better give him the job.
Right. Exactly. So and I think it's just going to bring to light some certain things, and that's all you're hoping, probably, if you're him. I don't think he probably cares about the money as much. And
even if he gets some kind of settlement, he pretty much covered himself anyway, even like he would have a job for the next decade. So,